Good afternoon. I'm going to be here just for a little while, and I'm not going to be here for long. Hope you're all good. I posted a COVID-19 immigration update, and I've had a lot of inbox messages. So I decided that I'm just going to do a very quick live where I'm just going to share some of the key issues and address some of the questions, so that I don't have to address some of the individual questions. So I'm going to do I'm going to just do those very, very quickly, and just try and just give a quick update, so that I don't have to respond individually to a lot of questions via WhatsApp and via my DMs. I'm going to try and share my screen so that I can just have the key points on there for you. So I'm just going to try and do that and just see, so that, yeah. Hope you're all okay, and you're surviving in the times that we're in now. We continue to have news of deaths every day, which is quite sad, and quite really a very, very difficult time for everyone. So I'm going to run through this presentation. I hope you can see it, and then after that, I'm just going to answer some of the questions. So for those who don't know me, my name is Bvunzawabaya. I'm a solicitor. I am also a community development worker. I work with an organization called Migrant Family Support, developing the community, sharing information. So like what I'm doing now is just sharing information from the Home Office and sharing it with people. I've shared the link, but people would have questions. So I've tried to just break it down in a way that is very easy for everyone. So right onto it now. So if you're in the UK and your leave to remain expires between 24 January 2020 and 31 July 2020, the Home Office will extend your visa to 31 July if you cannot leave the UK because of travel restrictions or self-isolation related to coronavirus COVID-19. So those are people who are self-isolating. There may be people who are shielding because they've got underlying medical conditions and they've been told to shield for 12 months. It may be people who are going to countries like Zimbabwe, where you are put into quarantine for about 21 days. And for some people, that's not something that they would like to go through, given some of the conditions in quarantine. And for people where there's no flights to your country, or where the flights are very expensive and rare, your visa will be extended to 31 July 2020. And then after that, the situation will be reviewed again, and you'll be expected to return to your country of origin as soon as possible, and as soon as it is safe to do so. If you've got questions, please post them in the comments, and then I'll respond to the questions later. You must request an extension by updating your records with the Coronavirus Immigration Team, which is called CIT. There's a link on the article which I posted on my page, where you're able to request an extension by updating your records if your visa is expiring and you cannot leave the UK at present, but are not planning to stay in the UK long term. So if you just want to stay until it's safe to leave, you can just notify, update your records, and it won't affect your visas when you want to come back on holiday. So it's very important not to just stay, but to actually do something about it and to request an extension by updating your records. So the link is right there in the article that I posted on my page, and you'll be able to get all that information so that you can update your records. I'm an immigration, I'm a solicitor, and I deal with immigration law and family. So I'm not an immigration lawyer, I'm a solicitor. And you don't really need a solicitor to do this if you're able to do it yourself. If accessing a computer is not a problem, and you can read the instructions and fill in the forms, or get a family member to do it, you don't actually need us to do that for you. That's something that you can do by yourself, notifying, updating your records with the coronavirus immigration team, CIT, and they will automatically extend your visa. The next thing is, if you've already had your visa extended, already had it extended to 31 May, your visa will be extended automatically to 31 July. So you don't have to do anything. So if you'd already done it, don't do anything. I know that there's some people who have parents who are elderly, who are quite anxious about breaching their visa conditions, who are quite anxious about staying in the UK longer than they had intended, and they don't want to jeopardize their future applications. It's important to understand that, yes, if you had already done it, you don't have to do anything. It's okay. You can just stay until the 31st of July. So if you've already notified the Home Office before, if you've already notified the Home Office, then you don't have to do anything at the moment. You just have to wait. Yeah? Oh, my Karen, thank you very much. I said 12 months for shielding. That would be a torture. So yeah, it's not 12 months for shielding. It is 12 weeks. So next, I'm going on to people who are on a long-term visa. And what I would encourage for you guys to do is, please share this video, please share this information, share this audio, share the information with people who you think might be affected or might benefit. I've tried to do an audio because it's easier for people to just understand and to break it down easily, because there's so many different categories. And it's then easy for you to know which category you fit in and which category you don't. I'm doing this in English so that everyone can understand it, regardless of whether they are Shonan, Ndebele, Kenyan, Ugandan, Malawian. It's for everyone. Someone has asked me in my WhatsApp, why are you speaking in English? Because it's a common language, isn't it? So, long-term visa. You can apply from the UK to switch to a long-term visa until 31 July 2020 if your leave to remain expires between January and July 2020. So this includes applications where you would usually need to apply for a visa from your home country. So I want to explain this a little bit more, because there may be people before who would have had to go back home to their country of origin to apply for a visa. For example, they were coming to visit their fiance or girlfriend or potential spouse, and they would have had to go back to apply for a spouse visa. But now you don't have to do that. You can stay and apply for an extension from within the UK. If you were a student and you want to continue with your studies, you may have had to go back and then apply again. You don't have to do that now. If you're a visitor and you want to switch to a working visa, you don't have to go back. You can apply from within the UK. So that's really important, and something which would really benefit a lot of people, because there are people in that category who would, who would really have to struggle to go back and then come back. So this is a time where you don't have to. You just need to make sure that you meet the requirements of that route and you pay the application fee. So even if your leave has been extended to 31 July, you can still do that. You apply online, and the terms of your leave will remain the same until your application is decided. So the UK immigration fee is an issue which some people may struggle with, because it's quite a lot of money. It's £1,000 for the immigration health surcharge, and then 1,033 for the immigration fee. which comes up to £2,033, which might be a lot of money during the times that we are in, because people have lost their jobs, and it's a time of great anxiety and financial stress on a lot of people. There is an option for you to apply for what's called a fee waiver. Now, there's a case that just came out yesterday saying that the requirements for that fee waiver are too high and they're stringent. So we're just waiting to see what's going to happen in that respect. But for now, fill in the fee waiver application, which then allows you to have the fees waived, so that you can make the application without paying the £2,000 plus, which the Home Office requires for you. So I would encourage people to do that, to fill in the fee waiver, or to instruct a solicitor. You know, with the one that I said before, I said you don't need to instruct anyone, but with this, the fee waiver application might be a bit complex, so try and get help for that. Try and get advice on that, and also which form to fill in and things like that. Sometimes it's just making just a consultation fee, and asking and getting the advice and then doing it yourself. Or there are many places which offer free advice, so you're able to get the advice, knowing how to fill in your fee waiver, and also filling in your fee waiver correctly will save you £2,000. So it's worth getting the advice so that you do it properly. But if you're applying for a long-term visa, it's an opportunity for you to do it in country without going back. The UK visa and citizenship application centres and the service and support centres are temporarily closed because of coronavirus, so you cannot book an appointment. So if you've made your application online, right, you don't have to. If you've made your application online, you are not able to go for the appointment for your biometrics, but your application is valid. So what we've had Home Office writing letters, making decisions, but saying that you'd have your appointment later when it's safe for you to go to the centers. So for now, make your application before your visa expires, do everything the way that you normally do, and then you can then go later when the centers are open. So for now, they've closed. I've also had quite a lot of Tier 4. So Tier 4 is student visas who are waiting for a decision on their applications. So Tier 4 visa and are waiting for a decision on their applications. They can start their course or studies before the visa application has been decided. If you have a Tier 4 sponsor, if you've got a confirmation of acceptance for your studies, and if you've submitted your application before your current visa had expired, and show your sponsor evidence of this. So this is for those who are studying, who are Tier 4 students and have made an application. If you haven't had a decision, you can start. So that's really helpful. Tier 2 and 5 visas, and they're waiting for a decision, you can start work before your visa application has been decided if you have been assigned a certificate of sponsorship and you have submitted your application before the current visa expired. So again, that's quite simple to understand. So if you're working for the NHS, I'll rush through this. If you're a frontline worker, you're eligible for a 1-year extension to your visa for free. A 1-year extension to your visa for free. And your family members can also get an extension for up to 1 year. So you need to have a visa that's due to expire before the 1st of October 2020, work for the NHS or an independent healthcare provider in an eligible profession, and the extension will apply from the date your visa is due to expire. So I've had a lot of questions about this from people who are working as support workers, people who are working for independent healthcare providers. So in a nursing home, those people are all covered. And so you can work for the NHS, either for the NHS or an independent healthcare provider. So that really helps you. And the extension will be for free just for 1 year. And then after 1 year, you'd have to pay, I suppose. So that's it applies to people in these occupations. There's a list of occupations. So if you're a biochemist, dental practitioner, health professional, medical practitioner, medical radiographer, midwife, nurse, etc. So this is the list of people who can apply for their visa extensions. Now, when I read this, it's not necessarily people who are only on tier 2. It can also be people on the 30 months limited leave to remain. So that's my understanding of it. Initially, I thought it was only tier 2, but it's other people as well. And then how to get an extension, your employer will tell UK Visas and Immigration if you're eligible for an extension. So it's up to your employer to do it. So once your employer tells you to post you and your family's current BRPs to the UK VI, or your employer might offer to do this, then your visa will be extended, and that's the address, and it's free, and you don't have to pay for anything. So that's very helpful for people. So find out from your employers. They could be a care agency, they could be another or the NHS. So they will be able to give you that information. So that's really, really important in terms of the quick update. So I've got some questions here from Jane. She says, I thought the health surcharge has been dropped. So the health surcharge has only been dropped for specific people. It's not for everyone. So if you're applying for a spouse visa, you still need to pay for the health surcharge. If you're applying as a student, you still need to pay for the health surcharge. If you're applying as a tier 1 migrant, you still have to pay the health surcharge. So the health surcharge is only for specific groups. So it's only for specific groups that it's been scrapped. So it's not for every single person. If you're applying as a family based on long residence, that it doesn't apply. So it applies only to a specific group. So that's why it's important to actually know which group it applies to and whether you would qualify. So I would encourage people to make sure that it applies to you. So it's for overseas staff. So it's for people who are on tier 2 visas. So to exempt NHS and care workers as soon as possible. So the immigration health surcharge for care workers and NHS workers, that's the one that the health surcharge has been dropped. So even the visa fee has been dropped for that group of people. So it's not for everybody. So it's important as well to know that if you're just applying in another route, it still applies. So it's only for overseas carers. I hope that answers your question, Jane. Jane, you gave me an angry face on the on the likes. Why are you giving me an angry face? Oh, yes. So does this include the application for citizenship? No. For citizenship, you still have to pay the fees for the citizenship. So that hasn't changed. How about when due for indefinite leave to remain? For that, nothing yet has been announced. So nothing yet has been announced for indefinite leave to remain. So I'm not sure. I haven't read anything about that yet. So for example, yeah, I meant 1 year. Yes. So I posted a link to the list of professions that were there. Support workers. It says health professionals. So under health professionals, I'm not sure if that includes mental health support workers or not. And I think most of these people are people who have come on work-related visas as well. So most times, care workers have not been able to get a tier 2 visa. But for example, if you're a support worker working in a private healthcare setting or the NHS, and you're extending your visa because you are here on the basis that you have a child who is British or your family life, it's then important to check with your employer if yours can be sent for free, because the employer is the one who checks with the Home Office. So my understanding, which might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, is primarily for those people who are on tier 2, because their employers would need to give them to extend their visas for them generally. So important to check with your employer if you think you might qualify. Check with your employer to make sure that you qualify. But it probably would apply to a support worker working in the NHS. But always just double check, because the employers are the ones who are running that scheme. So Monique, you asked, what if someone is already in the UK with a visiting visa and was supposed to go back in April? They would automatically get the extension up to the 31st of July when they fill in that form and notify the Home Office. But if they meet another category, so if, for example, they meet the category for a spouse, they could apply for a spouse visa. If they meet the category for if they get a place for school and they want to switch to tier 4 student, whereas before they would have had to go back to their country to do it, now they can do it inside the UK. They don't actually have to go back for this period. So if they're already in the UK and they meet the requirements of another category, they can then stay in that category. If they don't meet any requirements, then it would be difficult for them to justify why they need to stay. So it's important to know that they meet another category, the requirements of another category. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. For naturalization, I haven't read about any fee waivers if you're working in the NHS, Sophia. It would be great if there was, and maybe it's something to advocate for and to write to MPs and policy and decision makers to get them to advocate for that, so that people can. Because in Shona, we have a saying that says, "Mwanasna cheni anofira mbereko." A child who doesn't cry dies on their mother's back. So if you have an issue that you feel that this should be taken up, then it's an issue to advocate for, to contact members of parliament, to contact local councillors, and to tell them that, you know what, this is how much we as a family we're being made to pay. This is the time now to actually advocate for things to change. And that's what we've seen with the changes that were made, the concessions that have been made, has been a result of people speaking out and speaking up for themselves. So I think it's really important, if you feel that this issue is unfair and unjustified because of the contribution that we make as foreigners to the NHS, to this country. As foreigners, we've been vilified, we've been told, go back where you come from. We've had so much discrimination against us. But this is the time now where the country is at war with this virus, where our contribution has been validated, our contribution has been seen. So areas where there is unfairness, it's time now to raise up our voices and to raise them up in unison with so many other immigrants from all different ethnic backgrounds, from the Philippines, from India, from Bangladesh, from Africa, to say, look, you know what, this is not fair, because we're coming and doing a service here, and these are the astronomical fees that we're paying. And that's what they've seen in other areas. So even with naturalization, I think, it's important to lobby for that, and to have that changed. So that's very important as well. So thank you for bringing that up. I think it's the time now to speak about that. So somebody's asked, how about those who have a tier 2 sponsorship terminated and are waiting for the Home Office letter, though their visa is valid? So for those people, I would probably say, you know what? Try and get another job now, whilst you're still, before the letter has come. If you're able to get another job and then make an application for a new tier 2 sponsor, then I think it's a time for you to be able to, to switch to a new sponsor and then carry on and get a new visa. Because if you don't do anything and you're waiting for that letter, if the letter comes after the 31st of July, if things have changed, you are then liable to be removed because you have no reason to be staying here. So I think it's an opportunity now for you to look for another job if you can, if there's no disciplinary hearings against you or anything like that. Look for another job and then just switch, while you can switch in country, it's a time for you to do that now. Yeah, so somebody sent me that message on WhatsApp. What if your sponsorship was terminated? So I hope that's answered your question, Ida. I hope that's answered the question. Yeah. Somebody asked me again about settlement protection. They asked if, hi Rumbi, what will happen to those who have applied for their set PILR and already submitted their biometrics? The Home Office will make a decision in those cases. So it's a time to wait because you've already submitted it before time. So wait, and then they will they'll make a decision because you've already done it. You've done your biometrics. The Home Office is just taking a little bit longer with decisions. They're taking a little bit longer. So because they're taking a little bit longer, you might have to wait longer, but at least you've done it. You've submitted it before your visa has expired. So that's okay. Right. Let me just read through the questions. Imelda, she says, what if I've paid NHS surcharge for a spouse visa, but still waiting for consideration, and I work as a healthcare professional, but not working for the NHS? So you have to, if you've already submitted it, the guidance on there says you just have to, you've already submitted it, so you can't get a refund. I think that's what I read. Yeah, I read that you can't get a refund. Right. Kuda, you've asked if there are any updates on biometric libraries or core centers opening. No updates on that. At the moment, they're closed, and we just have to wait for the updates. So that's really frustrating, to be fair, for someone who maybe has applied and they need to travel urgently. For, there might be family sickness, there might be many reasons why people have to travel. So because you don't have your biometric, it makes it very difficult to travel because you can't come back. So that's something that is quite challenging for people at the moment, and we hope they will open soon. Coronavirus, there's been a lot of bereavement, and we did some talks on that, and there's been families who are on a temporary visa, and the Home Office have said where the family members have died, they can stay in the UK permanently. They can get their indefinite leave to remain without making any payments, and they can do that for free, and they'll be granted the indefinite leave to remain. When I posted that, a lot of people were commenting saying, why does it take death for them to give people indefinite, and why are they doing that? And I can understand that death evokes a lot of emotions, and sometimes when things are unfair, living as a foreigner, I've had a lived experience of living as a foreigner. Being in another person's land is never a right, and we have to follow the rules of that country. So generally, when you're on a tier 2, like a work permit visa, if you die, then ordinarily what they would have said is that unless there's other exceptional circumstances, then your family would have had to return to your country of origin. So that's what the rules say. But then now they've said because of coronavirus and these people have died in service, serving this country, their family members can stay. So when I read that, I thought that was a good thing. Because I know the difficulties that families have. I've been working with immigrants since 2007, and people have died and their children have stayed and having trouble with papers. And I remember one young lady who went on to get her papers after a long struggle. She ended up graduating. She ended up, and I remember attending her graduation because the journey that she had been so difficult. So when I saw that the bereaved families were getting indefinite leave to remain, I was so happy because I thought, hey, you know what? People go through a lot. And I know people were complaining, but I think maybe sometimes it's just not understanding the challenges that people actually go through after the death of a loved one. In terms of staying here, it wouldn't be automatic before, but now that it's been made automatic in this situation, that's a good thing. So if you know anyone who's lost a loved one who works, families of NHS staff. So this is not everyone again. It says it's families of NHS staff and care workers. So if it's someone who is, they haven't included here, bus drivers. So that's important as well to advocate for those others, whoever has been left out. If you know anyone who's struggling with their immigration status because of the death of a loved one, it's important for them to get advice, to also go and see their local MP and to be able to lobby and advocate for them to also be included in this category, because there might be people who are working in different fields, like bus drivers or supermarket workers, who also have temporary leave to remain, and then their family members might have to go back. So all those people have to. So agency care workers, in respect of Christy, in respect of which part? Is it about the death of loved ones? I think it covers care workers. So again, that's an area where if you're an agency care worker, then they would need to perhaps try and find out, make an application. If you don't fit into the box, I think it's time for people to state your case and to say, this is my story, this is where I am, this is what I've lost, this is what I need, and say it to the people who make decisions. So if you know anyone who you think they should qualify, this is not fair, it's the time to speak up so that they can get the help that they need, or the concession that they need. Because initially they hadn't covered care workers, they'd only said nurses. They hadn't covered other professions. But when people made noise to say, you're leaving us out, they then included them. So those people, agency care workers, they have a voice to speak. They need to speak as well for themselves so that they can also be included. And Sisi Ushe, you've just said there was a nurse from Philippines who died, and his wife is in the Philippines. She was pregnant and she was due to come. Will they let them come in and stay as well? That's really sad. So sad, because people have been robbed, it's very sad. So currently the offices, the visa offices, some of them are not open, but I believe that if they make an application to come, perhaps even as a visitor, if they're coming to bury their loved ones, or if they're coming, they should state their case to the authority. So it depends. Each case is individual. So I don't want to say yes they can, no they can't, because I don't know the circumstances for the wife. But if you know her, I can try and see if I can advise her and try and help her. I'm not sure if she would be able to come. It depends at what stage they were. So if, it depends on a lot of factors. So it wouldn't be automatic that they can come, and we don't know if they can't. So, yeah. So I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Christy Chikanda, I think for getting the extension for 1 year for agency workers, the extensions are made through with the help of the employer. So it's important for the agency worker to speak to their employer and then check if they can also send theirs through. So it's important to check, because these things, they're being made as we go. It's not, so they're being made as we go. If there's a gap, like with the agency workers, speak to your agency, get them to put you down as well, and find out why agency nurses are not being covered if they're not. I'm not sure if they're covered. And these policies are being made as we go, and arising from the need, arising from the pressure. So if agency nurses are left out, then definitely we need to push forward for them so that they can also be included. So that they can be included as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I've answered quite a few of the questions. Some of the questions in the inboxes. I know there's people who have children who are turning 18, who they wanted to apply for their visas to come, and because the visa centers are closed, they're saying, what are we going to do about our children? So when the visa offices are open, it's important perhaps at that stage to make an application and explain what had happened and why they were not able to come. Yeah. I work as a consultant solicitor at Tan Law Solicitors in Coventry, and we've been closed. We've been closed since the lockdown began, so we haven't been seeing clients at home. We've been working from home. We haven't been seeing face-to-face clients. We've been working from home to protect our staff and to protect ourselves, and so everyone has been working from home. But from the 1st of June, we're going to be having a phased return, and staff and visitors will adhere to protective measures to safeguard everyone. So we'll exercise social distancing and wear masks and have gels for people to clean their hands. So it will be opening from 1 June, a phased opening, and we'll see how we get on. And just pray for everyone that God will continue to protect us. For those who haven't been out, in a health setting, there's a lot of protection, but in other areas, well, there hasn't obviously been, because of all the talk about PPE, but you sort of expect it, and you are protected. Whereas in other settings, sometimes you are less guarded. So we haven't been seeing clients, but from the 1st of June, Tan Law Solicitors will be opening its doors again, in a phased reopening of the office. So that will be, people will be able to access, if they need to have documents certified, if they need to have wills made, if they need to speak to someone face to face, that's going to be available for people. Yeah. So I hope that has answered most of the questions that people have had, and hopefully that's been quite useful. Please may you share this video with others who you think might benefit. If you know anyone who, I think I've answered most of the questions that were coming into my inbox. I think I've answered most of them. If you've got any other questions, just pop them in the comment section. I'll come back later and have a look at them later. But hopefully that's been useful. Please share the message so that others can get it, especially those who might be quite vulnerable, who might be a bit worried about what's going on, especially elderly visitors. I see that our parents, when they visit, sometimes they can get quite anxious when they don't know what's happening. So please share the information with them and pass on the information. Great. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, have a blessed day. Have a good weekend. Weekend is like every day is is every day is every day. I think there's no difference between Saturday and Friday. We're living in extraordinary times, Makoma. This time is something else, honestly. But we thank God for His grace for us. So yeah, so be blessed. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.